evening and welcome to NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Amy Barnett.
And I'm Josh Woodsman. U.S. military investigators are on their way to Pakistan in hopes of determining the cause of the plane crash that killed 7 Marines.
Elaine Quijano has more on that and on the update in the war in Afghanistan.
And investigators are working to determine what caused a U.S. Marine Corps plane to go down in the mountains of western Pakistan yesterday, killing 7 Marines on board.
Pentagon officials say there's nothing to indicate enemy fire was to blame for the crash of a Marine Corps KC-130 like this one west of Quetta, Pakistan. The refueling plane was on final approach, headed for the Marine base at Shamsi near the Pakistani-Afghan border when it slammed into a mountainside.
The mission sounded fairly routine from everything I heard at CENTCOM, as routine as it could be in a wartime situation, but I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary.
President Bush offered condolences and words of comfort to the families of the 7 Marines who died in the crash.
But I want to remind them that the cause that we are now engaged in is just and noble. The cause is freedom.
Meanwhile, in eastern Afghanistan, U.S. warplanes carried out a new bombing raid on a cave complex where officials believe they've detected Taliban and al-Qaeda activities.
And in Kandahar, U.S. forces say they are now holding some 350 detainees. The U.S. military has begun moving them to Guantanamo Naval Base in Cuba. In Washington, I'm Elaine Quijano.
In continuing news, under tight security, the first group of detainees is being transferred to the U.S. Navy base in Cuba.
Before leaving the Kandahar airport, the base came under fire. Wolf Blitzer has the details.
Just after the prison plane took off, a gun battle apparently broke out around Kandahar airport. CNN's Bill Hemmer spoke to a Marine lieutenant a short while ago.
Lieutenant, tell us what you believe and understand right now about this threat. We heard the possibility of snipers, special forces going out. What do we know? What can you say?
I can say that we were engaged by some enemy positions, a couple of different positions. As a result of that, we engaged them with both small arms fire as well as heavy machine guns. And we have since sent out both U.S. and opposition group for anti-Taliban force patrols to investigate those sites. And as a result, we don't believe the threat exists there anymore.
The prisoners, hooded, possibly clean-shaven, 20 Taliban and al-Qaeda prisoners are now on their way to Cuba. Destination, Guantanamo Bay. It's an 8,000-mile, 20-hour trip, and they're chained to their seats and have no bathroom privileges. Will they be sedated? The defense secretary wouldn't say.
They have been authorized and instructed to use appropriate restraint.
At Guantanamo, each detainee will be kept in an outdoor cell with a wooden ceiling and chain link walls until a detention facility is built. In Cuba today, it's 75 degrees and partly cloudy. The Marines are in charge of security. Wolf Blitzer, CNN, Washington.
The war between Palestinians and Israelis continues. The Bush administration says it believes Palestinian Authority President Yasir Arafat knew about a ship full of weapons captured by Israel last week in the Red Sea. State Department officials believe evidence suggests Arafat was possibly involved in the shipment. President Bush had stern words for the Palestinian leader.
Mr. Arafat must renounce terror, must reject those who would disrupt the peace process through terror, and must work hard to get to the peace table.
Israel maintains the weapons originated in Iran, a point not disputed by the Bush administration.
An Air National Guard F-16C fighter jet crashed in Ocean County, New Jersey today. A Guard spokesman says the plane was on a routine training mission and the pilot ejected safely.
No, the pilot followed the normal procedures and was able to get out of the airplane. If a crash can be routine, at this point in our investigation, it was very routine.
The jet crashed in a wooden area near a weapons training range. No people were hurt. And we'll take a break from news right now, and Ryan Miller joins us with weather.
Tell you what, Ryan, these fluctuating temperatures are wreaking havoc on my health. I'm so sick, and I'm blaming it on the weather department tonight.
Well, you know, they're going to kind of even off here over the next couple of days, but tonight, you're just going to get more sick. Sorry, Josh.
Not good.
Yeah, I know. Don't go out without a coat tonight if you are headed out. For tonight, look to have a low down around 31 degrees. Cloudy skies all night long, although We did see a little bit of precipitation earlier. Is there going to be any more later? I'll let you know.
All right, thanks, Ryan. A U.S. Marine from Gary will not get to hear a song her father wrote for her. Matthew Winters says he was looking forward to performing the song with his daughter Jeanette. However, his daughter was one of 7 Marines killed yesterday when a tanker plane crashed in Pakistan. She was the first female soldier to die since the U.S.-led Afghan bombing began in October. Sergeant Winters was a radio operator who joined the Marine Corps in 1997. A woman who admitted taking part in another woman's brutal stabbing death has been sentenced to 65 years in prison. 22-year-old Christy Williams has pled guilty to murder in the February 2001 death of Tammy Craycraft Smith. Smith was stabbed at least 36 times during a break-in at her Muncie apartment. Smith was Burns' former co-worker at a Muncie area restaurant. Williams intends to appeal her sentence.
And partners DaimlerChrysler and General Motors Corporation are looking for ways to reduce costs. They will take full ownership of their new Venture Gear four-wheel drive parts. Chrysler, which now owns 64%, will get New Venture's New York and German facilities, while GM will assume ownership of the plant right here in Muncie, said Chrysler spokesman David Barnas. Auto parts manufacturer BorgWarner and GM are in talks on the use of the Indiana plant. BorgWarner wants to expand four-wheel drive out part. And from our partners at the Ball State Daily News, here are tomorrow's headlines tonight. Are you planning on renting an apartment next year? Student Legal Services attorney is offering to review housing leases for free. And the new Student Center is going to be delayed a little while longer due to lack of funding. Plus, President Bernal is appointing a committee to investigate the UPD. These story and more in tomorrow's edition of the Ball State Daily News.
Well, coming up, a Muncie woman shines under the national spotlight as an outstanding teacher. We have her story. And fees are on the rise at a popular Indianapolis museum. We'll have the details.
Plus, Ryan will be in with a look at your weekend weather, so stay tuned. Each year, the Dow Jones Newspaper Fund searches across the country to find a journalism teacher who stands out above the rest, one who makes an impact not only on his or her students, but to journalism as well. This year, that teacher is one of Muncie's very own. In a story he filed for CNN's Student Bureau, here's Dustin Grove with her story.
She's not afraid to stand up for the students that she teaches.
In fact, Terry Nelson is willing to lose her job defending her students.
They're saying the same thing about I-STEP Plus, and that's a big story.
26 years of teaching and challenging anyone who says her student reporters aren't real journalists.
They're absolutely real journalists. Anytime you publish for an audience, you are a real journalist.
A sincere thought, but not always supported by school administrators. In 1979, the principal wanted Nelson to turn over the name of an anonymous student source.
I explained to the principal that I couldn't tell him who wrote that letter, and he demanded that I did or I would be fired.
She wouldn't do it. A real newspaper wouldn't have to, but they did fire her.
The principal was under the belief that he could make me do anything, even something against my ethics, and even something that would damage another student because he was principal, and he said so.
But in 1988, the U.S. Supreme Court decided the principals can just say so. In fact, they have complete editorial control over their high school's paper. In some cases, that means censorship. One of those cases in 1998 at another school where Mrs. Nelson had just started teaching again.
They were going to demand that I sign this piece of paper, and the piece of paper said that I agree that students at Muncie Central High School do not have freedom of expression.
Luckily, she never had to sign it. The principal reassigned to another school. Today, Terry Nelson's still here.
She really cares about every individual.
Still teaching.
I think it's our responsibility to help train the kids to have a voice and to not be afraid to use their voice.
And for her voice, Nelson is this year's National Journalism Teacher of the Year, a milestone in her crusade.
That's an asset that I think we might even take for granted, to have a teacher like that that's willing to stick up for us.
And willing to keep standing up as long as it takes.
I believe strongly in kids. They can rise to the occasion, and they can put out stuff with such emotion and such background that it can change their world.
Dustin Grove, CNN Student Bureau, Muncie, Indiana.
What a great story. Congratulations to her. Indiana State Police have cleared Ball State University Police of any criminal activity within their department. Vice President of Student Affairs Doug McConkey told NewsCenter today's decision was the ISP by the ISP, was the result of a long review process which began in August following allegations of misconduct.
Well, State Police looked into a number of allegations regarding the University Public Safety Department, and they gave us a report this morning. We met with them and went through it with them. And as reported already, they have found in working with the local prosecutor that there are no criminal charges to be filed. There's no substantiation of criminal allegations.
Despite the fact that no individuals face criminal charges, Ball State President Blaine Brownell has assembled an 8-member advisory group to examine parts of the state police investigation. Brownell says they will be focusing on 2 specific instances.
One having to do with potentially some irregularities in the submission of timesheets by a couple of officers, and the other an incident that we believe may reflect behavior unbecoming an officer. And we want the task force to look into those to see if there's any disciplinary action that we ought to take and make recommendation through me to the president.
That was Vice President of Student Affairs Doug McConkey speaking on behalf of Brownell. The university says the 2 instances under review took place more than a year ago. The advisory group will determine what, if any, disciplinary action should be taken.
Indiana State Senator Mike Young introduced a bill to revise the death penalty law here in Indiana. The bill would allow defendants' criminal history to be presented during the penalty phase of the trials. Also, the legislation would allow the death penalty to be applied in cases where the murder victim has had a restraining order against the defendant.
Well, it's going to cost a little more money to visit the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. Adult admissions will go up to $9.50, while children will cost just $4. However, children under 2 will still be free to attend the museum. Officials say the extra money will pay for renovations and new exhibits. The Indianapolis Zoo has also recently raised their price of admission. Well, Ryan's joining us with a look at that weather and promising that my cold is going to stick around.
Yes, I am. 40 degrees out there right now. What's it going to get down to tonight? I'll let you know after the break. It's cold.
Sorry, just going to jump on the whole season.
Well, good evening and welcome back to News Center 43. Let's go ahead and start you off with a look at the weather almanac. Today's high well above our normal high of 32, coming in at 45. Also, just a great day as far as our low is concerned. Low of 41, normally just coming in at 16. Sunrise tomorrow morning if you'd like to get up. Should be making its way up at about 8:03 in the morning. So here are some of the highs for around the state today. Mainly in the mid to upper 40s throughout the entire state. Evansville, that one exception, down there at 52. Indianapolis in at 46. Terre Haute and Lafayette shared a common 49, and 43 way up there in South Bend. Currently here in Muncie, we've got very cloudy skies. Should probably have clouds for the rest of the night, maybe even into tomorrow morning. Temperature of 40 degrees, humidity hanging in there at 82%, with wind out of the west at 10 miles an hour. Here's a look at the national satellite right now. Look at all these clouds, pretty much all over the United States, but really you expect to have a lot of precipitation underneath them. Really just here in the northern part is where all that precipitation is, along up there in Washington and Oregon. Here's what Indiana looks like right now. Like I said earlier, you're going to be hard-pressed to find any clear sky tonight in Indiana, with the exception up there around the Gary, Chicago area, which is going to keep our temperatures relatively warm for tonight, so that shouldn't be too bad. Like I said earlier, here's the radar. All that precipitation right there. It looks like it's falling in Muncie, but it's really not. The rain is falling, but it's evaporating before it hits the ground, keeping us dry for the most part. In fact, here you can see it moving off to the east. We really shouldn't be affected throughout any more of the night. Just some rain falling down there in southern Indiana. So tonight, this cold front's going to zip on by us, dropping us down to about 31. But out there behind it is a dome of high pressure, which should kind of clear up our skies into tomorrow. Should be great. Here's some of the lows around the country for tonight. 30s across all of Indiana, some 40s to our south, and then even some 20s and even the teens out to the west. So in fact, here for Muncie tonight, look to be cloudy all night long, a low of 31 degrees with wind out of the northwest at 12 miles an hour. Tomorrow morning when you get up for that 8 o'clock class, partly cloudy, temperature of 32 degrees with wind out of the northwest again at 9 miles an hour. And like I said earlier, tomorrow this dome of high pressure will be right over us. Mostly sunny, but some clouds are going to creep in there. Other than that, just a beautiful day. The highs we're expecting somewhere in the mid-40s, 30s up there in Michigan, and then 50s to our south. Like I said, tomorrow look to have 43 degrees with partly sunny skies, wind out of the west at about 6 miles an hour. And guys, take a look at that 3-day forecast, would you? Looks like we could see some snow on Saturday and Sunday, but Monday, well, we're just going to have clouds.
You know, I'm really glad some of the snow has melted.
And you know, it doesn't look like the snow that we might get will accumulate.
Yep. Thank goodness for those warmer temperatures.
Finally, some good news. Thanks, Ryan. Jake Johnson joins us with a look at sports.
Jake, a lot of football. Got football players this weekend?
Yes, we got football all around the weekend, and I will tell you about it right after this break. Last night, the men's basketball team took on the Chippewas of Central Michigan here at home. P.D. Jackson took the game on his shoulders with his 8th double-double of the season. Jackson walked off the court with 24 points on 7 of 13 from the field with 2 3-pointers, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. Although the team was plagued in the first half by fouls, they pulled out the 89-77 win over Central. The Cards look to post up another victory as they take on Toledo at 7 p.m. on Saturday. Now let's talk football. With an injury to the throat last Sunday, St. Louis Rams quarterback Kurt Warner had a hard time swallowing Wednesday night at the announcement of his second MVP in 3 years. The award was no surprise since he had led the Rams to an NFL best 14-2 record this season and passed 4,830 yards, which is the second highest total in history. Warner also completed 68.7% of his passes this season, and doctors ordered Kurt not to speak, so questions were answered by way of email and through his wife Brenda. Kurt beat out fellow Ram Marshall Faulk for the honor. With all said and done about the MVP award, what about the coaches? Well, right now there is a coaching Cold War going on in the NFL, and it seems like the coaches are practicing harder than the players just to keep their jobs. I have the inside track on who's hot and who's not, and the name on every team's mind right now is Steve Spurrier, formerly of the Florida Gators. If the Buccaneers lose on Sunday, you can say au revoir to Tony Dungy and hello to Bill Parcells. Yet Parcells has to come out of retirement first. If not, bring on Spurrier. Though if the Bucs win, then Spurrier looks to be employed as a Panther. Even with that, don't rule out the Skins because they might make a late move towards the ex-Gator. But we will still have a problem here in Indy. Who's got Morris' spot? Well, right now the Colts are looking at Dungy if the Bucs release him because of the simplicity of his defense. And we all know the Colts defense don't got game. Iowa's coach Kirk Ferentz and Bears defensive coordinator Greg Black also have Indy's undivided attention. And other coaches who are running after their jobs include Steve Mariucci of the 49ers, Marty Schottenheimer of the Chiefs, and John Gruden, who is being blamed for the late season losses in Oakland because of his lack of focus. So be looking for some interesting coaching changes in the upcoming offseason. And finally, the NFL playoffs are set to kick off this weekend. The wild card round opens on Saturday with the Eagles hosting the boys from down south, Tony Dungy and the Buccaneers at 4:30. And there might be a crash landing for the Jets when they fly to Oakland to face the Raiders because, as you remember, the Black and Silver will be playing their hearts out for Coach Gruden to save his job. That game is at 8 o'clock on ABC following the Bucs-Eagles. On call for Sunday, the Niners will pack warm as they travel to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field to face the Pack and the dreaded Cheesehead fans, a place in which the Packers remain undefeated in the playoffs. You can catch that one on Fox, while the Baltimore Ravens might have to learn to swim with the Dolphins instead of fly when they travel to Miami. Both teams have remarkable defenses, so the final score might read all offense. And you can catch that one on CBS. We have a lot of football this weekend, a lot of coaching changes. Everybody's playing for their jobs right now.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of happens in the offseason.
Good
so who do you think's going to win? The Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Well, being from Chicago, I'm a big Bears fan, so go Bears. But
definitely
it'll be a good race.
Okay. Well, thanks. Well, Ryan Miller is going to be in with one last look at your weather.
And did you know you can teach an elephant new tricks? We'll have that story next. Stay with us.
Well, tonight if you're headed out, take a jacket. Low of 31, cloudy all night long with wind out of the northwest at 12 miles an hour. Tomorrow morning, you're still going to need that same jacket. Temperature of 32, partly cloudy, still same direction wind at 9. Tomorrow, though, high goes up to 43, partly cloudy, wind out of the west at 6. And for that 3-day forecast, looks like we could see some snow on Saturday and Sunday. Highs around 40 every day, and Monday looks to be mostly cloudy.
Now, Ryan, with all that precipitation still kind of on the ground, do we expect that to freeze tonight with it getting down to 31?
Nope, should remain great.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Thanks. Well, maybe elephants can't fly, but they can play baseball. Bo, the baseball-playing elephant, got to show off his skills today in Miami with members of the Miami Hurricanes baseball team. They played ball with Bo at the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And these two pandas have been in the spotlight the last year. Last January, Tien and Man Shay made their debut at Washington's National Zoo. They've been shining stars ever since, and today they're celebrating their first anniversary. How cute.
A lot of great animal stories tonight.
That's
definitely.
right. Cute
Definitely
pandas.
heartwarming on this cold winter evening.
Yes. Oh, it's not that cold out.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for News Center at 9:30. I'm Amy Barnett.
And I'm Josh Woodsman. News Center 43 is an official CNN Student Bureau. Be sure to tune in Monday for News Center at 5:30. Have a good weekend.
What did I say?
And these two...